from Snowy River a little while ago. This is the original of it. There was movement at the station. The word had passed around that the colt from Old Regret had got away and had joined the wild bush horses. He was worth £1,000, and all the cracks had gathered at the fray. While the tried and noted riders from the stations near and far had mustered at the homestead overnight, for the bushmen love hard riding where the wild bush horses are, and the stock horse snuffs the battle with delight. There was Harrison. He made his pile when Pardon won the cup, the old man with his hair as white as snow, but few could ride beside him when his blood was fairly up. He would go wherever man and horse would go. And Clancy of the Overflow came down to lend a hand. No better horseman ever held the reins, but never horse could hold him while the saddle curves would stand. He learnt to ride while droving in the plains. And one was there, a stripling on a thin and weedy beast, a little like a racehorse undersized, with a touch of Timor pony, 3 parts thoroughbred at least. Such horses are by mountain horsemen prized. He was hard and tough and wiry, just the sort that won't say die. There was courage in his quick, impatient tread. He bore the badge of gameness in his bright and fiery eye, and the proud and lofty carriage of his head. But still, so slight and weedy, one would doubt his power to stay. And the old man said, "That horse will never do for a long and tiring gallop, lad. You'd better stop away. Those hills are far too rough for such as you." So he waited, sad and wistful. Only Clancy was his friend. "I think you better let him come," he said, "for I warrant he'll be with us when he's needed at the end, for both his horse and he are mountain bred. He hails from Snowy River, up by Kosciuszko's side, where the hills are twice as steep and twice as rough, where the horses who strike firelight from the flint stones every stride, and the man who holds his own is good enough. The Snowy River riders and the mountains make their home, where the rivers flow those giant hills between. I've seen full many riders since I first commenced to roam, but never yet such horsemen have I seen." So he went. They found the horses by the old mimosa clump. They raced away toward the mountain brow, and the old man gave his orders. "Boys, go at them from the jump. No use to try for fancy riding now. And Clancy, you must wheel them. You must wheel them to the right. Ride boldly, lad, and never fear the spills. There never yet was horseman that could keep the mob in sight when once they gained the shelter of those hills." So Clancy rode to wheel them. He was riding on the wings where the best and boldest riders take their place. And he raced his stock horse past them, and he made the rangers ring with his stock whip as he met them face to face. And they halted for a minute as he swung the dreaded lash, and they saw their well-loved mountains full in view, and they charged beneath the stock whip with a sharp and sudden dash, and up into the mountain scrub they flew. And fast the horsemen followed, and the gorges deep and black resounded with the thunder of their tread, and their footsteps woke the echoes, and they fiercely answered back from the cliffs and crags that beetled overhead. And onward ever upward the wild horses made their way, where mountain ash and Currajong grew wide, and the old man muttered fiercely, "We may bid that mob good day. No man can hold them down the other side." And when they reached the summit, even Clancy took pull. It might well make the boldest hold his breath, for the wild hot scrub grew thickly, and the hidden ground was full of wombat holes, and every slip was death. But the man from Snowy River let his stock horse have its head. He swung his stock whip round and gave a cheer, and he raced it down the mountain like a torrent down its bed, while the others stood and watched in very fear. He sent the flint stones flying, but the pony kept his feet. He cleared the fallen timbers in his stride, and the man from Snowy River never shifted in his seat. It was grand to see that mountain horseman ride. Past stringy barks and saplings, over rush and broken ground, down the hillside at a racing pace he went, and he never pulled the bridle till he pulled up safe and sound at the bottom of that terrible descent. He was right among the horses as they reached the further hill, and the watchers on the mountain standing mute saw him ply the stock whip fiercely. He was right among them still, as he raced across the clearing in pursuit, and they lost him for a moment where two mountain gullies met in the ranges, but a final glimpse reveals, on a dim and distant hillside, the wild horses racing yet, with a man from Snowy River at their heels. And he ran them single-handed till their sides were wet with foam. He followed like a bloodhound on their track till they halted, cowed and beaten. And he turned their heads for home, and alone and unassisted brought them back. But his hardy mountain pony could scarcely raise a trot. He was blood from hip to shoulder from the spur. His gaze was still undaunted, and his courage still was hot, for never yet was mountain horse a cur. And down by Kosciuszko, where the pine-clad ranges raise their tall and lofty battlements on high, where the air is clear as crystal, and the white stars fairly blaze at midnight in the chill and frosty sky, and where along the overflow the reed beds bend and sway in the breezes, and the rolling plains are wide, the man from Snowy River is a household word today, and the stockmen tell the story of his ride.